Ooh, now we're live. Okay, which means it's going to pull up on YouTube here in a moment, and then I can follow comments that way.
Cool.
And I will probably type my responses to this group activity there. So let's see when it comes up here. We've got it going live now. I'm going to take this link and post it on Twitter so people have it. And on Tumblr. Boop. Okay.
I see a man with a fancy set of facial hairs.
Ooh. Hi, Clara, B96. Hey, Failed Continuum. Let's do a group cubing. I think we can get some more people here, though, first, before I start it, so that everyone can participate.
And is
I
this
can't
on
tell how many
Doeyes
people
then?
are in.
Yes.
It's on Doeyes. The group chat is saying that we have 0 viewers, even though we're here. And the YouTube page is telling me that we don't have any. Oh, 5. Okay, awesome. So what I think I'm going to do is give us a few moments here to let people log in, and then we'll start. But what you're going to need is either paper and pen or to type it into a document or in the comments. And I think if we all do it in the comments, it will be a lot of text, and so it's probably best if people put their thoughts about what they write in the comments, but what they actually write into a document or a notes file in Google Docs.
Paper and pen.
Oh my gosh, paper and pen! But that's really cool because then you can have it so that when we do this again, because we should do this once a month for everybody to check in on themselves, then you can compare it if you have paper and a pen. Just have it right there. I suppose you could do that online as well. But I've always written them out for clients, my friends. How big a piece of paper? You're definitely going to want front and back. And if you want to, you don't have to write it. You can draw it. The more details that you include, the more telling that this will be for you. Okay, we've got 20 now, so I think let's do this. Right? Claire is here, Failed is here, Ruth and Nick, Alec, Pony Lover, Polixcraft, Chase, and all the cool people Google chatting because you're awesome Patreon sexplanauts. So cool. All right, are we ready for this cubing?
I totally missed the description if there was one.
Time to cube.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
I haven't given the description yet. Here's the description. I feel like I need like an introductory paperwork display to say, and now we'll use this little guy.
Hi, Wasted Pantaloons.
Hi, Peter.
I took a nap. It was great.
I know. How was the bacon?
Oh, also great.
Is that a frog in a throne?
No, it's a tapeworm at the throne. This is the point at which the things start. This is my ta-da! Here we go. All right. So what you need to do is at the top of your page, you're going to put down all the 3rd grade elementary school information. So your name, the date, where you are, what time it is that you're being cubed by Dr. Doe, which is a kind of cool, special experience. And I would say this is all to give it context because you can do this nowadays and years from now, and things might stay the same and things might change, but I think it's really important to know where you were when you did this one, this cubing, when you were cubed by the doctor. Okay, so tell me when you've got that.
Okay, so name, date, time, and what else? Said where, when, why, what? I'm sorry.
I'm going to type it, but you're going to do name, date,
Time,
time, place,
place.
by Dr. Doe. So I'm going to do Lindsay Doe, July 12th, 2015 at 8:23 p.m. by my bedroom
Oh yeah.
on the internet. By myself. I'm giving me top of the page. Okay. So this is for context. You can do this to yourself later. You'll know what everything means after we go through it, but I don't think that anyone is really able to control what it is that they visualize when I give prompts. Everyone thoroughly confused and ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Let's rock.
Excellent. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is imagine a desert. And if you want, you can put a small description of that, though I don't ever find it necessary. The other things are where I want you to focus your writing on. But you're going to imagine a desert. And this,
Walk like an Egyptian.
you can put notes in the comments if that's something that you want to share with people about what your desert looks like. Mine usually looks like the one from Beetlejuice with the giant sand snakes.
Oh, got in.
The windows and the doors. Right. So once you have the desert, then the next thing you're going to do is imagine a cube. And this is where you're going to start writing and typing everything that you can imagine about this cube. So I'm going to give us a little bit of time for you to put those initial thoughts down, everything that comes to mind that would allow you to describe this cube. And then, because not everyone is as thorough as I hope they can be, I will give some prompts so that I draw out more information about the cube that you may not have even thought of writing down or thinking of. Okay? So, write as much as you can about the cube in the desert. I'm doing this too because I love it so much, so bear with me while I write down details. So you're going to want to include things like what the cube is made out of, what its dimensions are, whether it's solid, hollow, what's in it, how it's constructed, what distinguishing features it has, if it's affected by the elements, if you can lift it, if you can break it, how it got there, anything that you can imagine about the cube. I've been putting my stuff in the comments, but I think it's going to overwhelm the comments, so I'm just going to hold my cube here. So make sure that you have its dimensions, its material, whether or not it's solid, hollow, what would be on the inside, how it's affected by the elements if it is. So when it rains, does it absorb the water or beat it off? When it's hot, does it heat up? When it's cold, does it cool down? Can you lift it? Can you break it? What would break it? Can you open it? Can you go inside it? As many details as possible. So for one of the amazing patrons, Patreon patrons who can talk to me, do any of you want to tell us what your cube is like, and then I'll go on to the other items in the desert?
Sure. You can do that.
You want to pick somebody?
Whoever wants to go first.
Don't everybody run at once.
Sean, sounds like
Okay.
you did first.
So, my cube is a giant metal cube. It's about 30 feet by 30 feet by 30 feet. It looks from the outside like corroded copper. There is a door in the center of the bottom of the face that you're facing, whatever face that happens to be. I haven't decided. I guess when you're facing north, it's in front of you. The door is a standard American-sized door. There's a door jamb all the way around it. The door is made of the same material as the cube. There's a standard American-style doorknob, which I didn't realize was an important distinction to make until I started traveling all over the world. And it turns either way, and it opens in. Inside the room, the light seems dim, but that's compared to the bright sunlight outside. And the smell of the air is crispy clean with nearly no moisture. The inside of the room would be like a Rubik's Cube, except each piece of the Rubik's Cube is a room, and there are ladders between each floor and doorways, open doorways between each part of the room. The sound as you walk on the floor is slightly tinny, but it's not nearly as loud as it seems like it should be if we're walking on a metal surface. The light doesn't seem to be coming from any clear source. It does not leave shadows. Inside, the temperature is regulated to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The air does not seem to be actively circulating, but it doesn't seem to be stale either. You can hear the sound of your own breathing when you're inside the cube. Outside, the surface of the cube is cool to the touch. When it rains, the water hits the cube, but it doesn't really bounce off. And that's about as far as I got writing.
That's a lot.
I could have kept going for like an hour. Yeah.
That's amazing. So are the other sides of the cube different in any other way except that they don't also have a door?
The only difference is that only one side has a door.
Okay. And is it breakable?
So I was thinking about that. Like, I think a meteor could probably hit it and not shatter it. It's near indestructible.
Okay. And where do the stairwells and the rooms lead, or what do you know?
They just lead to each other. So I hadn't made it as far as populating the cube yet.
Okay.
I would have gotten there, but I ran out of time.
Well, if you decide to do that, I think that would be really informative to you, and it's super cool. It's unlike any cube I've ever heard of, and I've done this, I don't know, a couple thousand times by now with people. So it's really fun. A lot of people have cubes that are Rubik's Cubes, but not the version that you're talking about. And I would say a lot of people, they'll also talk about having cubes made out of ice, metal. Anybody else want to tell their cube before I move on to the next object?
Sure, I'll do mine.
Oh, everybody. Go ahead, high waist.
Okay, Liz, by the way, if you want
Hi,
to not
Liz.
say the whole name. Hi. Mine is actually very, very large. It's in the middle of the desert. It's four. All sides are four different colors. It's one side's blue, one side's purple, one is red, and one is green. It kind of floats, sort of like bouncing up and down in the air. So nobody can actually touch it ever. And it is hollow, but you can't see through it. It's solid but it's a hologram. So it's there, but it's not there at the same time. So it's like you can't see through it, but at the same time, nobody can ever actually touch it. It's always been there, and since it's a hologram, nobody can actually ever destroy it because it doesn't really exist, sort of.
Wait, the cube itself is a hologram?
Yes.
When I think of a hologram, I imagine a piece of flat plastic with the hologram on it.
No, holograph, like holographic image.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry, holographic image.
Okay.
So it doesn't like actually exist, sort of.
Okay.
But you can see
And
it.
it's hovering or bouncing?
Yeah, it's sort of like, like just sort of like going like just this, constantly like moving up and down.
Can you get underneath it?
hmm
And what is that side? Because I think you gave the colors of 5
Yeah,
sides.
each side has a different color.
And what's the underside?
Oh, the other detail I forgot is that the sides kind of move around. So like the blue side will shift over to the purple side, and the red side will shift over to the green side, so that all sides constantly are moving all over. So like nothing is ever still. So it's always moving.
And did you say there was something on the inside?
No, it's empty.
It's empty.
You just can't see the inside because each side is completely solid.
Okay. Are you in Sean Nerd Fighters?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what I'm dealing with here?
I'm a very inactive nerd.
I feel like I've heard everything, and now there are just these cubes that are coming out of nowhere. Okay, well, let's keep going then. This is exciting. The next object in the desert that I want you to imagine is, oh man, I haven't done this in a long time, a ladder. So you're going to describe as much as you can about that ladder.
Is it in the same desert?
Some people have a really hard time seeing the objects in the same place. So I don't try to put limits on it, but I would just go back to, okay, Lindsay says imagine a desert. In the desert, there's a cube. Lindsay says imagine a desert. In the desert, there's a cube, and there's a ladder. Whatever that means to you. Are you doing this, Peter? Are you?
I am. I'm trying to think about how to describe the ladder because I just finished up the cube.
I'm so excited to hear what your cubing is.
Can anybody finish
Their cube?
any of it? I could just go on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, I could write about the cube for probably 6 hours.
Whoa. That's a story in and of itself.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So here are some prompting questions. How tall is it? How many rungs does it have? What is it made out of? Does it have any distinguishing features? Like paint splatters or stickers, price tags? Where is it in relation to the cube is a really important question to answer. I think for some of you, the ladder will be lying down flat on the ground. For others of you, it will be upright, and you won't know how it's erect. And maybe for some of you, the ladder will have part of it in the desert. Some ladders are tilted against things. Some ladders are tilted against the cube, or the cube is tilted against the ladder. Things like, are all the rungs the same? Sometimes people will have a rung that is not safe to step on, or they might get splinters from it. Does it have the rubber foot paddings? Is it extendable? One person talked about having a ladder that went as far as they could possibly see in both directions, like railroad tracks, and another person had one that was upright that went as high up as they could fathom. Okay. Somebody want to share their ladder?
I can share. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yay! Okay. The ladder itself is in a white desert. The sand as white as paint, but you can still see the grains. It's not at a straight angle. It's slightly tilted, not completely 90 degrees, more like a 45. The ladder is also white, a clean white, painted, made of wood. The bottom rings are more worn than the others, slight decays of paint. The more you go up top, the less the paint is worn. It is, but not completely untouched. Not completely untouched, just worn less than the bottoms. It is made of wood, but solid as steel. If you try to remove the ladder from the sand, it will not budge. If you climb it, it is solid and unmovable. It leaves no shadow, as if light was hitting it at all angles. When you get to the top, you look out and see the white desert for miles, and only mountain ranges to the back of you. That's as far as I got.
Whoa.
Nice.
Tell me again where it is in relation to the cube.
It's behind it. So, like, there's the cube, and then where the cube is this, like, the way that I had described the cube is that it's a floating cube, and it's unmovable. It only slightly budges. And then the mountains are, like, behind it at all angles, but the ladder always follows it.
Okay. How far back is it?
Not far, probably about 7 feet.
7 feet. So you wouldn't be able to use the ladder to get to do the cube?
No, especially at the angle, because, like, the cube would be the slight angle that the ladder is at is facing away from the cube.
Ah, okay. And how many rungs does it have?
12.
Is there anything at the top of it that it's going to?
No, it just is there, and then you can see the view of the desert.
Okay. Anyone else want to share their ladder? That was really interesting.
I can share mine. I don't have a lot, though.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I'll go ahead. All right. In the same desert as the box or cube, a little bit away from it, laying on its side, mostly submerged, is the ladder of unknown origin, magical in nature. It can extend or shrink at the will of the user, or at its own will. It once felled an entire army, acting as a pillar. But that was another time and another land. It is constructed of metal that was soaked in waters that were stewed with a stalk of of what was left of the stalk of Jack's beanstalk. Its color is variegated, depending on who looks at it at what time. Currently it is 3 feet, but it can extend immeasurably. And depending on who's using it, the rungs can shift their length and width. And that's about as far as I got.
That's a lot.
Cool.
So have you ever used the ladder?
Nope,
You've not used it?
I have not.
Where is it in relation to the cube? Maybe you said that and I missed it.
It is probably about 30 or 40 yards away from it.
In which direction?
Northward. It's been there longer than the cube, which is saying something because the cube had been there for a minute too.
Okay.
It's
I'm
the
so
desert.
excited to tell you all what these things mean.
Oh, there's a meaning to this. I missed
Uh-oh.
that part.
That's awesome. Okay, next object in the desert. There's also a horse. Tell me as much as you can about the horse.
Oh god, I already know what is in my head now.
Yeah, me too.
That's good. That's
I,
how it should
I know
be.
5 of you had to come to the same strong conclusion.
Peter, I want your food.
It's steak. Don't worry. 2 more weeks.
I have braces.
I'll make sure to cut it in very small pieces.
You can eat steak with braces.
Wait, you can't eat steak with braces? I know I did.
Me too.
I chewed gum when I had braces.
Yep.
I wasn't supposed to, but I did.
Hello?
I one time ate an apple with and that did not go well. It was one of the things I missed. I could not eat apples anymore, and I missed just tearing into one and ripping out after a good juicy bite, but it would break things off. Sadness.
The horse is dead?
Mark. Though I do like the image of a skeleton, a horse's skeleton in the desert.
Oh, okay, now I see what you guys are talking about. Let's see, there's a pun on beating a dead horse.
Oh,
Oh man,
missed it. Like,
this is getting bad. It's getting hard to type through this.
Peter, is that you?
I don't know that he's paying attention. Okay. So, prompting questions for the horse might be things like color of the mane, color of the tail, color of the eyes, if it has any distinguishing marks, if it wears any gear, so bridle, saddle, reins, if it's shod, meaning has horseshoes, if it's domesticated, if it's ever been ridden, what it is doing, where it is in relation to the cube. Whether or not it's dead.
That's an important question to ask, though.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to pass that question along to the horse.
Do any of you want to tell us about your horse?
I'll tell you about my horse. Unless
Okay.
somebody else wants to go.
Anybody else?
My horse is amazing.
So, my horse is actually a mule. It's a marriage between a quarter horse and a draft donkey. It is sturdy and wildly intelligent. The ears and eyes follow your every move with interest and curiosity. The horse is strong and can easily carry 800 pounds as though it were nothing. The mule's hair is dark brown, and it has tufted white socks at each hoof. The lips are dark, nearly black, and his eyes are deep and impenetrably black. When he huffs in your face, his breath is moist and warm. His fur is brushed and carded. It seems like he has been well cared for, though at the same time he seems completely wild. There is no sign of a saddle or blankets. His spirit is strong and free. He is obviously here because he is curious about you, a lone traveler deep in the desert where people are not usually seen. He lifts a foot, untouched by horseshoe, and flicks it your way almost as if he wanted to shake hands. His skin is warm, but not overheated.
Ooh. Where's the horse in relation to the cube?
The horse, the cube, and the ladder all exist in. They're wildly separate from each other. They're not. They can't actually walk from one to the other. You kind of have to take a Widdershins turn through your mind to get from one to the other.
Okay. And the horse has been ridden?
It's not clear if he's been ridden or not.
We just know it can hold a lot.
He could let you ride him if he wanted to, but there's no sign of whether he's ever actually been ridden before.
And tell me again what it's doing right now?
He's inspecting you.
I'm doing the, like, shake my hand.
Yeah, lifting his hoof up to kind of shake. Or it's not clear exactly what he wants. He's kind of curious about you, trying to figure out what you are and what you're doing there.
Okay. My kind of horse. All right. Anyone else on the horse?
Sure. The horse, for me, was at the bottom of the ladder. I climbed back down, and it had showed up there at some point while I was climbing. So I lowered myself just directly onto the horse from the ladder and started walking. I walked past the cube, and I started to worry about leaving the only landmarks in the desert behind, and tried to get it to turn around, but it apparently doesn't know any commands or anything that I could think of. And I didn't want to get off because I could injure myself in the middle of the desert falling off a horse, and figured I'd just go wherever it ended up taking me.
Okay. What does it look like?
Just kind of white with some grayish spots. Like, I kind of pictured the wild ponies when I was at Assateague. Like, one of them let me pet it, so I just kind of pictured that one.
Okay. How many of you have had braces?
I have.
Braces?
Is this like a full braces group?
I have not had
No.
Angus is not.
Yeah, no braces there. Or if
Really?
so, very
That's great.
ineffective.
Mark has not. Okay, so it's like half and half.
Yeah.
Peter, have you had a braces?
Nope, I had teeth removed instead.
I had
Aw.
teeth removed and then braces put on.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
me too.
fun.
I
And they
had to
would
get
not let
like
me ran out of money.
Removed last week.
That was funny. I remember. Let's see. I drove myself up to the place because it's like 30 minutes away. Had them pull out 4 teeth, then drove myself back and went to physics lab. That was fun.
Um,
The question was your grade good?
Was the what good?
Your grade?
Not really.
Yeah, see.
okay, 2 more objects. Ready? Can you manage?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is a plant.
Any plant?
It's the plant that's in the desert. So you're in the desert, you see the cube, the ladder, the horse. There's a plant.
Plant was
Tell
already
me as
there
much
before.
as you can about the plant. Okay. Does anybody want to share their plant?
I'll go. Okay. Yeah, I technically already had the image of a plant in there when the box was first mentioned. It's a cactus. Surprise, surprise. It's doing the Egyptian, just like in this pose. It's, of course, spiny. It wants a hug, but only if your dance moves are fly. It will guide those that wander in the desert to water, provided they don't try to slice it up. Part of a family of cactuses that are spread out all over this forgotten desert. And that's about as far as I got.
So it'll move.
Yep, but not if you're looking at it, unless you're dancing.
Okay. And where is that in relation to the cube?
It's right behind the cube right now.
And how tall is it?
About 6 feet.
Does it have any flowers?
It used to, but not right now. In this particular area, the water isn't as plentiful for it to grow its flowers.
Whoa. Is it potted?
Nope. It is completely embedded in the ground, but can like shrink down and then pop up somewhere else.
And it's healthy?
Oh, very.
Okay. Those are all my probing questions, by the way, that people can answer about their own plants. Like what kind of leaves it has and flowers and whether or not it's healthy and... Okay. Cool. Anyone else want to do the plant before we move on to the very last one?
I'll do mine. It's a potted plant in a kind of grayish blue pot, something you'd expect to see in an office. It's got palm fronds, like really long palm fronds. It's a bright, unholy kind of green, but it is well cared for despite being in the middle of the desert. And it has sort of like those white lines on the inside of it. It does not have any flowers. It is very tall. It is a strong and healthy plant, and nobody knows really how it got there, but they continue to, somebody comes out every day to water it just to make sure that it's okay. So.
Okay. And where is it in relation to the cube?
Everything has been progressively moving forward for me, so the cube is behind me.
That's so poetic. Okay. Wow. I'm trying to think of any other plant questions I can ask you.
How deep are its roots?
Well, it's potted, so, and the pot's probably, obviously you can't do that, but it's kind of 3 feet off the ground, maybe, so that's as far as the roots can go.
Maybe it broke through maybe the roots broke through the pot. It's like,
No.
you can't contain me!
It's her plant, not your plant.
Okay, last one. In the desert, there's a storm. Tell me as much as you can about the storm.
Oh.
I love that some of you are actually writing. It's so cool.
Do you
Well, I
mean
have
by
to write
hand
for
or-
a certain... It's hard for me to just like have a little word program up and typing. Just, I don't know, I brainstorm better when I'm writing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Same here.
Yeah, I like to see people actually physically writing. I can't, but like it's nice to see people who are like, yeah, let me just grab a pen and paper. Or I'm like, yeah, I'll just type.
And I'm drawing pictures.
Yeah. See, that's
Me
that's where
too,
it's
me
at.
too. See,
'Cause I
I had a
can't
little
do
thing
like
going
that.
of the desert when you first mentioned the box.
Yeah. I have the original, like, I started with the box, and then I turned into that, and now I've added the horse and everything. And
Oh wow, you can draw horses?
no,
That's awesome, guys.
no, my horse is that.
Hey, that's pretty good though. You can tell what it is.
It's not much of a horse.
A horse is a horse, of course.
I know what it is, so
We all knew what it was. It looked, you could tell what it was.
yeah, it's got little like funny ears. I don't know.
Horses have bunny ears. It's one of those weird things they have for some reason.
They're a little pointy. Yeah.
So for those of you who are joining us that weren't here when the live stream started, what we're doing is a group activity called cubing, and you can actually look it up online if you want to know more. But essentially, what I have coached people on doing is to start by taking a sheet of paper or an online document and putting the context of what we're doing here. So the name, date, place, time, and that Dr. Doe is cubing you. And then the first part of the exercise past that is to imagine a desert. And so once you get that into your mind, then I ask people to imagine a cube, or I tell them that there's a cube in the desert, and then ask them to tell me as much as they can about the cube. The more details that you give about the cube and the other objects, the more that I can tell you about yourself when it's done. And so the first object is a cube, the second object is a ladder, the third is a horse, the fourth is a plant, and the fifth is a storm. So right now the group is talking about their storms or writing about their storms, and then we'll talk about them. And if you're concerned about sticking around and finding out what everything means before you actually get to do the activity, don't worry, because it's really hard to control what you end up imagining. So even for me, right, I know what all of these things mean, and I am able to cube myself or have someone else cube me at any time, and cannot control what it is that I visualize, even though I know what that's going to say about me. So, yeah, hang out with us and be part of this group cubing. And what I talked about earlier is that I would like to do this once a month. And the way we have it set up right now is that it is open to the public on Doe Eyes, and people who are patrons on Patreon, Sexplanations, who support Sexplanations financially and would love, they are sent a link to be part of the Google chat so that they can share their cubing and get a little special attention for me to show how grateful I am that they're helping at the show. All right, so are we good with the storms?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone who hasn't talked yet that wants to describe their storm yet?
I'll share mine.
Go!
Yeah. Alright, so my storm is dark and dreary, but oddly dry and somewhat blue-gray in tone. There's almost an electrical tension of possibility in the air, and the potential lightning that you sense has never struck the giant metal landmark that is the ladder, because my ladder is this giant metal landmark in the middle of the desert, and the cube sits at the bottom, and it just goes around, up and down in a never-ending spiral.
The storm does?
The cube goes around, and it's this big metal cube and a metal ladder, and there's this, it's just like a kind of like the dry electrical storms, but there's no actual lightning, even though it's like you feel like this big metal ladder in the middle of the desert is wanting to be struck, but it just never happens. So it's just all this potential energy just circling forever.
And then what happens to the cube?
The cube just continues on its journey. It never changes. It always goes up the ladder again, whether by following there's a metal current that flows and it goes around, and so it follows the ladder on its own, or the horse comes by and nudges it onto its path, or some random passerby comes by and will pick it up, and if they walk with it, it will actually get connected to the edge of the ladder again, and it will keep going. So it can either be by humans, it can be by itself, the horse. The horse is kind of like the, hey, you haven't gone on your path for a while, and it'll come and not nudge it back to the ladder.
Oh, I cannot wait to tell you what your horse is. Okay.
That's daunting.
I don't think I've ever heard that said out loud. Can't wait to tell you what your horse is.
Anybody else want to talk about their storm?
I'll do mine. So the storm is in the distance, and it's very dark, and it's very stormy, but it's way far away, like way on the horizon. And instead of like coming towards you or away from you, it's just going along. And they're definitely thunderheads, and there's lightning flashing in them, but they never go down to ground. And you can smell the humidity. In spite of just how far away it is, which is really, really, really far away. So, yeah, and that's my storm.
Where is it in relation to the cube?
Very, very, very far away, because it's from the perspective of where we are at the cube with the horse and the ladder. And so horizon's like 11 miles away, so like 11, 12 miles away.
Hmm. What is your cube, Peter?
The cube?
Mhm.
So the cube in the desert is glassy and black, although I'm not sure if it's actually glass or not. Although the surface is reflective, it is just so, and I underlined that, as it looks like it has some kind of matte to its surface. It's a big cube. It's about 11 cubic feet. It feels smooth and warm. Wait, yeah, no, not 11 cubic feet. 11 by 11 by 11. Is that a...
That's
Okay.
not 11 cubic feet.
No, 121.
11 feet cubed.
Yeah, that one. That's right.
121.
And it feels smooth and warm, but cooler than it should, considering it's in a desert.
Okay.
And then as for its contents, can't really tell. It almost looks like it should be translucent, but perhaps it's just because it's weathered and smooth, like those little pebbles you see at like Glass Beach, where it used to be like a dump, and the glass bottles would get tumbled and tumbled and tumbled for like 60 years.
Oh.
So kind of like pebbly, but clear. And it's very heavy, and it might be breakable, but I don't know.
Can you lift it?
I can't.
You can't.
No, it won't budge.
Hmm. I love how all of you are doing math right now. I feel like I'm definitely in the presence of nerd writers. So, I don't know who is going to end up watching this later or who is watching right now that isn't on the screen, but I'll put out there that there are people who are going to experience cubes that float, that aren't holographs, but that float, and cubes that have things that are in the inside but you don't realize yet, and ways to get in and open them up, or one of the most daunting cubes that I've ever heard was very dramatically bolted closed. So, let's see, what else can I tell you? Yeah, ladders can be broken, and horses can be dead, and plants can be crippled, and storms might be super brutal. I remember one of my students described that this was her cube, and the storm was only above the cube. It wasn't anywhere else in the desert except the cube. And I'm saying all of that because I'm going to tell you what these things mean, and just know that it can just be like a pickup game, a bar game. It doesn't have to be a psychological inventory of you, though I will say that is pretty accurate whenever I've used it with people. And again, you can do this to yourself, even if you know what it means, and you can do this with other people. If you're not believing that it has any meaning, then one of the suggestions I give people is to cube someone that they know really, really well and see what happens. Oh, and I'll say too, sometimes people have multiple horses, and sometimes people have multiple plants. I'm trying to think of other variations that might be out there, so people, all of you are going to have unique items in your unique deserts, but there are some trends, and don't feel like you're helpless or bizarre or anything like that. Do people have escalators instead of ladders? Sure, why not? Escalators they're like a ladder. All right, so the desert works as a neutralizer. It's kind of like when you have ginger in between sushi, right, to neutralize the taste of tuna so that you can really experience the, what's another fish? Salmon. And so you take the ginger, or like with perfume,
eel
they have
or
this
the
little coffee
shrimp.
beans. Yeah, or shrimp. So desert neutralizer. And so if you want to participate in this activity at all and get the answers that I'm going to give you, you have to start with the desert because it takes you out of the reality that you're in and puts you into that headspace. You are the cube. Your ladder is your friends. The horse is your partner or lover.
Oh no.
Yeah, right? I had a student once in front of the whole class. He shared his horse and talked about how it was dead. And it had just like one little tiny daisy by it. And that was a pretty intense moment.
Hi, Katana.
Yay, somebody's here. Okay, and then...
No comic nerd reference. I was calling the person who had the dead horse Katana because her lover's dead and his soul is sealed inside of a sword. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Good. All good. All good.
Well done. So the plant is your family, and oftentimes
Well, that's bizarre.
flowers will represent children. And so sometimes people have flowers and they don't realize that they have flowers.
I have 2 kids, but there's no flowers on my plant.
Oh,
So, what's that?
I don't know how to help you with that. You said your plant was doing really well.
Yeah, it's very, very healthy. I just don't have. There's no flowers, but I have 2 kids,
That's
and I
okay.
like them.
I believe you. Remember.
Okay.
I can't decide what to make of my plant.
And then the storm is your troubles. So you can kind of get an idea of how close they might be or how severe they might be based on where they're at and how they're going to affect you or your future, things like that. Horizon. What was I going to say about, that? So, for example, if I want to know how I'm feeling about my partner, then I can skip straight to the horse after I imagine the desert. So first you imagine the desert, then you go to the horse. Or first you imagine the desert, then you go to the plant. You don't have to do all 5 of them. And you don't have to do them in order.
Okay.
Okay. How was it?
That's awesome.
Really
What was the storm
confusing.
representative of?
Your troubles, threats.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of any of this.
No, mine all makes sense.
Oh, here's something else that I found really interesting. I went to a sorority house and did a group cubing of them. And up until this point, I would say that most of the women's cubes that people would describe were under 3 feet or even smaller. And most of the men's cubes were around 6 feet. But I get to the sorority house and there are, I would say, about 70 women there. And I did the group cubing and I asked them to share their cubes, just like I did with you, where a few people talk up for each object. And so many of these women were talking about cubes that were 10 feet, sizes of buildings, just like what Sean was saying. And I hadn't ever experienced this before after doing it hundreds of times by then and thinking, what is going on? And I had always had this hypothesis that the size of a cube was correlated to self-esteem. So I tried out this idea of mine, which was how many women lived in the sorority house itself and how many of them had the large cube. So I just had them do raise of hands. So how many of you have cubes that are over 10 feet? And I would say that 70% of them, maybe like a good chunk of them, raised their hand. And then I asked them how many of them lived in the house, and the same people raised their hands. Okay, so there's something, maybe communal living with lots of women increases self-esteem, or maybe it has nothing to do with self-esteem, but it was pretty awesome.
Is it possible that it's ego instead of self-esteem?
Maybe. Totally.
Because I would totally say I have a big ego, but my self-esteem is kind of beat up.
Okay. Well, then you can be a case study. Yeah, because your cube was really big and also super sophisticated on the inside. Oh my gosh. Oh, so two of the most fascinating cubings have ever done. One, a man was telling me about his cube, and he said that it was opaque. You couldn't see through it. And then he described how on the inside there was this whole control center that it was not actually made out of an opaque material, but whoever was operating the control center on the inside was controlling who and how much you could see into the cube, or essentially presenting two different things. I'm like, super manipulative. And, the other one that was so fascinating is, so you heard the order, right? It goes cube, ladder, horse, plant, horizon, or the storm horizon. And this person was describing her cube, and she said, it is big enough to hold a horse, as in her whole identity, the whole size, and everything that she created was based on her partner and lover.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, but it doesn't have to mean anything, and I hope that people, take what they like and leave the rest, because I want it to be fun and informative and not detrimental in any way.
Well, like what I found interesting with this is, not having, I've experienced like a group things like this where it's like a reflection based off of like objects in a cleansed area, a white room, something like that, or just a blank room.
Mm-hmm.
What I found interesting is that I'm now going back and reading mine and trying to, I spoke of my storm striking thunder on the glass and making shattered glass, from that one terrible romance comedy movie.
I liked it. Wait,
And now I'm looking back and I'm self-reflecting, like, okay, what does that mean? Now that I know that's based off of like an idea an experience I'm having, what is that? Like, I don't have a direct action, thought, or experience that I would explain that, but it's fun to kind of like figure that out. And then you kind of open yourself up a little bit more by searching back to those things.
Are you saying that you're having a hard time identifying what the threat or trouble could be?
Yeah, why would I, the threat and trouble, was far off, and I could distinctly see this object and this action happening, but I don't know where that correlates into a specific trouble. Why would I imagine lightning striking and making glass into my own personal experiences that I'm having now?
Well, if it's distant and far off, maybe
it's not
something that's coming.
Yeah, maybe. I did definitely said that it was coming towards me, but it wasn't like none of us were worried. The horse was calm, I was calm.
Yeah, so your threats aren't threatening, and it also sounds like they're a bit of a creative outlet for you if you are taking something that could be really tormenting and turning it into
a productive
beautiful
thing.
Romantic comedy art.
Oh, I'm a cliche.
No, it's wonderful.
No, it's just been fun. None of that was in the realm of I don't understand. It's more of I look back on it and now I'm like, oh, this is fun. Now I'm looking back and the journey of trying to understand it has been a fun experience as well.
Good. Well, fun. If any of you want to do it again, we can do it again in a month, but no pressure.
I'm curious about one thing quick. You said about the relationship between the cube and the ladder and the horse and everything, the distance between them.
Mm-hmm.
How does that play into it? As far as when I said, first I came across my cube, then there was my ladder, and then horse, so on and so forth. How does that then correlate into, like, if I'm the cube, obviously I'm going to come across myself first, then I have friends, or like how does distance, is that just like as far as like I'm closer to my friends and my family, kind of like that thing, or?
So when I do this, or right, you all know how to do it now, and you can cube other people, and make sure to tell them and you not to interpret. So what I would do is just replace the words, right? So if your cube is 4 feet from your ladder and your cube is 8 feet from your horse, then I would say that you are twice as close to your friends as you are your partner, or something like that, where it's very just replace the words rather than interpreting it.
Okay.
And so I would do the same thing and like let people have what meaning they want to give it rather than meddling and pretending.
No,
But I use proximity to explain a lot of those things, right? And I also think that things like the ladder is leaning on the cube, I take it very literally, and I think one that was so cool is that my friend was talking about how her ladder was up against the cliff, and at the top of the cliff was the horse, so the only way to get to the horse was via the ladder. And to me, like just taking it at face value, is the only way for her to access a partner or the partner was to go via friendships.
Okay. So none of my objects existed in the same reality, and in April I started life as a global nomad. So none of my friends are close to me, none of my family is close to me. I don't have any relationships, so it's kind of, that distance makes a lot of sense when you've uprooted yourself from everything that you've ever known.
Totally. But I would say I don't think it's always physical. Sometimes people can't see their objects at the same time. Like they might even be in the desert, but they cannot see them at the same time, and I think that speaks to their personalities, where they are unable to reflect on themselves and their friendships. They either have to be thinking about their friends or thinking about themselves.
Went into the desert on a horse with no name.
In my head this entire time.
Yes,
Forgot her name?
I love that song.
I know, right?
So good.
Cool. You guys have been awesome. I'm going to say goodnight now, but I'm really glad that we got to hang out, and I appreciate all of you for joining me and supporting Sexplanations.
Yeah, seriously.
That was fun. Yes, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you,
This was
Dr.
really
Blue.
cool.
You're welcome. Okay, have a good night.
High five.
Night.
Thanks.